Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, firefighters across the region continue to battle forest fires, but this rain should help. We will have the latest from Clay County. And Israel agrees to let some fuel into Gaza as the humanitarian crisis there continues to spiral.
Plus, we are drier and cooler for this weekend, but that next rainmaker is looming. Your forecast coming up as Mountain News at 5:30 starts now.
Dedicated to southern and eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Forest fires are still burning in the region despite this rain. The Kentucky Division of Forestry says as of this morning there were 18 active fires. Hopefully this rain is helping the situation, though. Ben Beddoes was out at one of those fires earlier today in Clay County.
I'm in Clay County where numerous forest fires continue to burn. The one behind me started burning yesterday at about 8 p.m. It's been put out at least in this area, but crews from around the state and around the country continue to work around the clock in putting out these fires. Since November 3rd, forest fires have burned nearly 33,000 acres. Firefighters have been battling tough weather conditions despite today's rain.
One significant challenge we have with the weather is how dry it is. And every time we have a storm system move in like we're expecting today, we have increased wind. So even though we may have increased relative humidity, we also have increased wind, so that offsets the advantage of the increased humidity.
Crews from around the state and even states such as Idaho, Texas, and Minnesota continue to battle the flames.
We were already having snow. We've got everything all winterized, and I was due to be laid off last Tuesday. And they said, no, you're headed to Kentucky. So we unwinterized our truck and loaded up all our gear, and here we are.
Overall, everyone is hoping for some helpful weather soon to put an end to this.
What we need to end it is a significant soaking rain for a couple days. At least, an inch or two where we have that good soaking rain.
From Clay County, I'm Ben Beddoes.
Well, we are not expecting an inch or two this evening, but we are watching out for some beneficial showers across the region. Here's a live look at First Alert Pinpoint Doppler, and a few heavier pockets of showers are possible, zooming into southern Kentucky and Harlan County, also into portions of southwest Virginia for Lee County, also into Wise County. And you see a few pockets of yellow, also orange, so maybe a few pockets of heavier showers. And same story in the Big Sandy Valley for Pike County, also into Logan and Mingo counties in West Virginia. And here is a live look from downtown Pikeville as that rain continues to fall as people are going home now. So not the best weather for driving this evening. That current temperature down to 57 degrees. Most of us in the upper 50s and lower 60s, up to 58 in Jackson, 60 for Manchester, and 61 over in Harlan at this hour. So once again, we are watching out for that cloudy sky and those spotty showers to continue into this evening. Those temperatures fall into the upper 50s and lower 60s. We are tracking some drier conditions into late tonight. Also, as you wake up and kick off the weekend, most of us are dry this weekend before another weather system by Monday and Tuesday of next week, and then a big cool down by Thanksgiving. All those details coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
Cameron, thank you. The United Nations is warning of the growing possibility of widespread starvation in Gaza because of a lack of fuel, saying it could not deliver aid today. The warning comes as Israel agreed for the first time to allow 2 tankers to enter the besieged territory daily as it continues its ground offensive against Hamas in response to the October 7th terror attacks. CBS's Willie James Inman is at the White House with those developments, plus the latest on the hostage situation.
Israel's defense system intercepted rockets fired over Tel Aviv Friday night, while its military continued airstrikes, saying it will hit Hamas targets all over the Gaza Strip. This Palestinian woman said she and her family evacuated from Gaza City to the south to avoid the fighting, only to lose her sisters, son, and a daughter in a missile attack. In Gaza City, Israeli troops continue to search Al-Shifa Hospital. They showed CBS News a tunnel they say is proof Hamas used the medical complex as a command center, something Hamas denies. They also displayed weapons they say were found in a vehicle on hospital grounds. As the humanitarian situation grows more dire in Gaza, Israel announced that it would allow 2 fuel tankers a day into the territory following a special request from U.S. officials. The fuel will be used to support Gaza's collapsing water and sewage treatment services, as well as Gaza's communication system. In central Israel, funeral services were held for 19-year-old soldier Noah Marciano, whose body was recovered in Gaza this week, along with another hostage, Yehudit Weiss. Family members of the 65-year-old grandmother blamed Israel's prime minister, the United Nations, and the Red Cross for not doing more.
Such tragedies could have been avoided if we only had someone who really cared about all those kidnapped.
They say they stand with the rest of the hostage families, demanding their loved ones be released now. Willie James Inman, CBS News, the White House.
President Biden spoke today with Qatar's emir about the urgent need for all the hostages held by Hamas to be released without delay. The White House said the two leaders also discussed ongoing efforts to increase the flow of desperately needed humanitarian aid into Gaza and Israel's decision to resume fuel deliveries. Prosecutors in Southern California charged a college professor with involuntary manslaughter and battery in the death of a 69-year-old Jewish protester. The incident happened during a demonstration over the Israel-Hamas war. Authorities have been working to determine how the man died amid reports of an altercation and a fall in which he hit his head. The professor of computer science at Moorpark College had put pro-Palestinian views on his Facebook page and other social media accounts. Healthcare professionals are continuing to battle cases of the flu, RSV, and COVID as the holiday season approaches. While the number of reported COVID cases are down, getting the virus is still a very real possibility. Officials say more people are getting sick. They say an increase in hospitalizations is mainly coming from RSV and flu cases and not COVID, at least right now.
We're not tracking COVID in the same way as far as not as many people are doing a laboratory test, and we're not getting quite as much reporting on that at the local health department level.
Healthcare professionals remind folks that if you are not yet vaccinated against COVID or the flu, that it is not too late to get your vaccine so that you have some antibody protection going into the holiday season. Any family hoping to apply for state aid for their college-bound high school graduate would usually be just about wrapped up with the procedure by now. A new law changed not only the application date, though, but the free application for federal student aid itself. Dawn G joins us with more on the changes made to help you make ends meet when it comes to getting that higher education.
This really is big news. Federal financial aid has not seen a change like this in decades. It's a lot of changes, but it sounds like it's a lot less to do.
The FAFSA opens in December for this year, and this would be for students that are applying for college in fall 2024.
Most families are preparing for the holidays, but if you have a college student in your home, you should also be preparing to fill out the free application for federal student aid, better known as FAFSA. This is the key to unlock college grants, state aid, work study, and federal student loans.
But then it takes the average student 20 years to pay off their student debt, which is an incredibly long amount of time.
The FAFSA Simplification Act brought with it a lot of changes and a pretty significant simplification to the process.
The FAFSA has been overhauled. So it used to be that the FAFSA had 108 questions. Now they have streamlined it down to 36 questions. So it's going to be much simpler and easier for families to complete.
How did they chop off more than half of the application to award federal student aid?
The way they have done that is by requiring that families transfer financial information directly from the IRS tax data into the FAFSA.
Most of the individual questions about finances are no longer needed since your tax information is downloaded with the application. The EFC, or the expected family contribution, which is a measure of how much a student and his or her family can be expected to contribute to the cost of their college education during a given year has also been replaced on the FAFSA.
The new FAFSA has changed the EFC to something called a Student Aid Index number, or SAI. Now, your SAI could actually be a negative number. If you receive a negative number anywhere in the range of negative number to 0, that means that you will likely qualify for a full Pell Grant.
Your SAI number is calculated by the government.
The higher your SAI number, the less likely you're going to qualify.
The FAFSA Simplification Act also removed the requirement of selective service registration, and drug convictions will no longer affect your chances for qualifying. It added questions about applicant sex, race, and ethnicity. This has no effect on your federal aid eligibility. The information will be used for data and statistical purposes only.
Families that are most in need are the ones that are going to be prioritized for federal grants.
Another big change, the FAFSA will no longer provide a discount for multiple children in college at the same time. That might hurt a bit. A little warning, all the dates and deadlines are not in, so that's where your homework comes in. There may be at least 3 different deadlines that you're going to need to keep track of when you're filing the FAFSA. There is generally a federal deadline, a state deadline, and an institution deadline. So keep track, helping you make ends meet. I'm Dawn G.
Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, it promises to put out small fires in your home by just covering whatever is burning. But does it work?
Plus, a big cool down is on the way by Thanksgiving. Those details coming up after the break.